Step out of the vehicle. Now! Don't make this worse!
I have not done anything!
I am not resisting. Why am I being detained?
Everyone's got something to say.
Hey, save it! I'm asking for your badge number. I have a right to that.
Badge number? That's funny.
Out here, nobody's coming for you.
The sheriff never asked for a name. That was his first mistake. At 6:47 in the evening on a quiet stretch of Route 41 in Deerfield, Illinois, Sheriff David Murphy shattered a car window with his bare fist and yanked a calm, well-dressed black man onto the pavement by his suit collar. No warning, no lawful command. Just rage applied to the wrong person on the wrong night. Murphy had no idea the man had not moved his hands from 10 and 2 since the car stopped. He had no idea the man had driven the speed limit the entire route. He had no idea the man had signaled every single turn. And he had no idea that everything, every punch, every fabricated charge, every word he screamed was being transmitted in real time to a federal command post 4 miles away. In the next 7 hours, Murphy's career would end. 17 badges would be stripped from his department. His city would agree to an $11.3 million civil rights settlement, and the man he dragged onto the pavement would walk out of his own interrogation room under federal escort, because that man was not a random driver. He was undercover FBI Special Agent Ruben Pierce of the Civil Rights Division, and he had been waiting for this stop for months. Before this story goes any further, if you believe in accountability and you think no badge should put someone above the law, subscribe to this channel and hit the bell. Drop your city in the comments right now. Let's see how far this story reaches. And share this video because the people in it deserve to be known. Ruben Pierce was 41 years old. He had spent 12 years inside the FBI's Civil Rights Division, the last 4 assigned specifically to pattern of conduct investigations, cases where one department's misconduct was not a single bad officer, but a systemic operation protected from the top down. He had built 23 successful federal cases against corrupt departments across 6 states. Prosecutors called him before grand juries because his documentation was airtight. Fellow agents called him the closer because he did not lose. Before the FBI, Pierce had been a civil rights attorney in Washington, D.C., taking cases other firms turned away. He knew the Fourth Amendment, the way surgeons know anatomy, not as a concept, but as a precise instrument. He had testified before a Senate subcommittee on law enforcement accountability. He had trained new agents at Quantico on how to recognize and document systemic bias at the department level. He grew up in Evanston, Illinois, 20 minutes from where he was now sitting in a rented black Audi on Route 41 in Deerfield, at 6:46 in the evening, both hands at 10 and 2, engine running, waiting. He had been in position on this route 3 times in the past 2 weeks. Each time, he drove the speed limit, signaled every turn, wore a tailored suit, and operated a luxury vehicle with valid plates and current registration. Each time, he was watched but not stopped. Tonight was different. Sheriff David Murphy's cruiser appeared in the rearview mirror at 6:44. It followed for just under 3 minutes before the lights came on. Pierce pulled over cleanly into the CVS parking lot on the north side of the road, activated his hazards, and placed both hands on the wheel. He did not reach for his identification. He did not move. He waited. Murphy did not approach the window with a flashlight. He did not tap the glass. He did not issue a verbal command. He walked to the driver's side door, drew his fist back, and drove it through the window 3 times. The third punch shattered the glass completely. Fragments fell across Pierce's lap and onto the seat. A shard opened a cut below his left cheekbone. Pierce did not flinch. His hands stayed at 10 and 2. Murphy reached through the opening, found the interior handle, unlocked the door, and grabbed Pierce by the collar of his suit jacket. He pulled with full body weight, and Pierce came out of the car sideways. Murphy rotated him and drove him face first into the pavement. The impact dislocated Pierce's left shoulder. He felt the joint give way on contact, a sharp, clean separation, and said nothing. Murphy planted his knee between Pierce's shoulder blades and screamed that he was resisting. Pierce had not moved. Deputy Kyle Harlan arrived from the passenger side within seconds. He grabbed Pierce's left arm, the dislocated one, and wrenched it upward behind his back. Pierce pressed his forehead into the asphalt and kept his breathing measured. Murphy began inventing charges out loud, narrating for his own dash cam as if constructing a report in real time. He called Pierce a sovereign citizen. He alleged refusal of lawful orders. He claimed suspected driving under the influence, despite Pierce having driven the speed limit and signaled every turn for the 11 minutes Murphy had been behind him. There was no field sobriety test. There was no lawful stop. There was no probable cause. There were, however, witnesses. Nurse Sophia Reed was leaving the CVS when Murphy's first punch landed. She stopped walking, pulled out her phone, and recorded from the entrance. Resident James Caldwell, whose house sat directly across Route 41, captured the entire sequence on his Ring doorbell camera, which stored automatically to the cloud. Real estate agent Brooke Ellis had pulled into the lot 2 minutes before the stop and was still in her car 20 feet away. She recorded on her phone without getting out. 3 cameras, 3 angles, none of them federal. The federal equipment was on Pierce. 2 more patrol units arrived within 4 minutes of the initial stop. Murphy's voice stayed loud, his account of events consistent and entirely fabricated. Pierce was pulled to his feet, his left shoulder hanging at an unnatural angle, blood drying on his cheek, his jacket torn at the collar. He was searched, cuffed behind his back, the cuffing itself a controlled brutality given the shoulder, and placed in the rear of Murphy's patrol car. He did not argue. He asked once, calmly, why he was being detained. Murphy told him to shut up. At 7:14 in the evening, the patrol car pulled out of the CVS lot and onto Route 41 heading toward the Deerfield Sheriff Station. Pierce sat behind the cage, his face against the window, the hidden federal equipment still transmitting. His shoulder was separated, his cheek was bleeding, his suit was torn. He had everything he needed. Murphy radioed ahead to the station and described a violent, sovereign citizen stop, a combative suspect, probable DUI, refusal of lawful orders. The desk sergeant logged the call at 7:16. The false report was already being built before Pierce's shoes hit the station floor. 4 miles away, in an unmarked building off Waukegan Road, the FBI command post received every word. Supervisor Keller listened to Murphy's radio transmission, set down her coffee, and told her team to begin the warrant package. The 7-hour countdown had started. Pierce was walked through the rear entrance of the Deerfield Sheriff Station at 7:31 in the evening. He was taken directly to interrogation room 2, a 10 by 12 space, with a bolted table, 2 chairs, a wall-mounted camera, and fluorescent lighting that buzzed at a frequency designed to wear on people. His left wrist was cuffed to a steel ring on the table's underside. His right hand was free. His shoulder was not examined. No one offered water. No one read him his rights. Murphy and Harlan moved to the squad room and began typing. Pierce sat. The cut on his cheek had dried. His shoulder sat at a 5-degree drop from where it should have been, the kind of separation that sends ordinary people to emergency rooms. Pierce kept his arm still and his breathing steady. He looked at the wall camera in the corner of the room, department-owned, recording to a local server. He was also being recorded by equipment the department did not know existed. He had been in worse rooms. He had sat across from worse men. He understood that the room was designed to make people feel helpless. He did not feel helpless. He felt patient. At 8:22 in the evening, Murphy entered. He dropped a clipboard on the table and told Pierce to fill out the processing forms. Pierce asked to speak with an attorney. Murphy said that would happen after processing. Pierce said nothing further and did not touch the clipboard. Murphy stood in the room for 40 seconds, then picked up the clipboard and left. At 9:47, Murphy came back. This time he sat down. He leaned back in the chair across the table and looked at Pierce the way men look at something they believe they have already won. He spoke without being prompted. He talked about how the department had been through complaint cycles before and nothing ever came of them. He talked about how internal affairs in Deerfield operated as a closed loop. Complaints came in, supervisors reviewed them, and they disappeared. 11 complaints against Murphy in 4 years. Every one of them closed without discipline. Then he mentioned the pool. He called it the redirect. Officers tracked which shifts produced the most minority driver contacts, stops, searches, detentions. Numbers were logged informally, updated weekly, and the shift with the highest count at the end of the month collected. Murphy said it had been running for 2 years. He said it with the ease of a man who had never once worried about the room being used against him. The federal wire recorded every word. Across town, in the command post off Waukegan Road, Supervisor Keller's team was already 4 warrants deep. They had the assault footage from 3 civilian sources, time-coded and authenticated. They had Pierce's audio and video feed, continuous since 6:46. They had 11 months of DOJ advisory panel documentation that Pierce had contributed to from inside a sealed federal review process, a process that began after a whistleblower filed a protected disclosure identifying Deerfield as a systemic bias operation. Pierce had not stumbled into this stop. He had engineered the conditions for it. He had been quietly embedded on the DOJ panel since the previous January, reviewing traffic stop data, use of force reports, and internal complaint logs. The data pointed clearly at Route 41 and the evening shift as the primary contact zone. He had designed his profile with precision luxury rental, tailored suit, no violations, Illinois plates specifically to match the demographic. The redirect was built to target. He had expected to be stopped. He had expected force. He had allowed it to happen because a stop without force would not have produced the evidence needed to dismantle the command structure. Murphy had to make the choices himself. And Murphy had made every one of them. At 10:18, Deputy Harlan came in and tried a different approach, quieter voice, an offer of vending machine food, questions about where Pierce was from. Pierce looked at him and said nothing. Harlan left after 6 minutes. At 10:51, the room went quiet again. Pierce sat with his right hand flat on the table and his left arm hanging still. His shoulder had stiffened. The fluorescent light buzzed. The clock on the wall moved. He had been sitting in this room for 3 hours and 20 minutes. He had not signed a form, answered a question, or given Murphy a single thing that could be used. And while he sat, Murphy had given the federal government everything it needed. If you have ever kept your composure when someone with power tried to break you, type "held" in the comments. And if you are watching this and thinking about someone who needs to see it, share it right now. This is exactly the kind of story that needs to travel. At 11:40 in the evening, Supervisor Keller signed the final warrant. The raid package was complete arrest warrants for Murphy and Harlan, search warrants covering the station's body camera server, dashcam drives, internal affairs archive, and any physical evidence related to the redirect operation. 8 agents loaded into 3 unmarked vehicles in the Waukegan Road lot. They moved without lights and without radio traffic on any frequency the department monitored. The 7-hour countdown had 47 minutes left. The front doors of the Deerfield Sheriff's Station opened at 1:47 in the morning. 8 federal agents entered in a single line. Supervisor Keller was in front, her windbreaker marked FBI across the back in white block letters. She walked to the front desk and placed the warrant package on the counter without raising her voice. The desk sergeant looked at the documents. Then he looked at the agents behind her. He did not reach for the phone. Keller told him to keep his hands on the desk and call his watch commander. The watch commander came out of the break room in 30 seconds. Keller handed him the search warrant and told him nothing in the building was to be touched. No computers, no servers, no file cabinets, no personal devices. Agents spread to the server room, the evidence lockup, and the administrative offices. 2 went directly to the internal affairs archive. Murphy was at his desk in the squad room when Keller walked in. He had been filling out the final version of his false report, the 3rd draft, the one he planned to submit before the end of shift. He looked up. He saw the windbreakers. He saw the warrant in Keller's hand. And something crossed his face that was not quite recognition and not quite confusion. It was the specific expression of a man whose account of events has just been invalidated before he finishes typing it. Keller told him to step away from the keyboard. She announced the operation by name and jurisdiction. She named the charges civil rights violations under federal statute, filing a false police report, evidence tampering related to the redirect operation, and attempted evidence planting in a federal investigation. That last charge made Murphy go still, because at 9:23 in the evening, while Pierce sat handcuffed in interrogation room 2, Murphy had stepped out for 11 minutes, returned with a small evidence bag, and placed it inside Pierce's briefcase, which sat open on the table. He had done it without speaking. He had done it while Pierce sat motionless and watched. He had done it in full view of the federal equipment Pierce was wearing, and the wall camera Murphy believed was recording to a closed department server. It was not recording to a closed server. The warrant package had included a federal technical order that mirrored the station's wall camera feeds to the command post in real time beginning at 7:45 in the evening. Murphy had planted evidence on a federal agent while being watched by 8 federal employees in a building 4 miles away. 2 agents walked to interrogation room 2. One unlocked the cuff on Pierce's left wrist. Pierce stood, straightened, and rolled his right shoulder. He left his left arm at his side. He walked out of the room and down the hall into the squad room. The night shift watched him walk in. 12 officers and 3 civilian staff members, all of them present, none of them speaking. Pierce stopped in front of Murphy's desk. He said that he had followed every traffic law. He had signaled every turn. He had placed his hands at 10 and 2 and kept them there. He had asked once, calmly, why he was being detained. He said that no one had arranged this stop, and no one had set a trap. Murphy had driven to that parking lot, chosen to punch through a window, chosen to put a man on the ground, chosen to fabricate charges, and chosen to walk into an interrogation room and describe a criminal operation on a live federal wire. Every choice had been his. The outcome belonged to him entirely. Murphy did not respond. Agents began the seizure. Every body camera in the building, every dashcam drive, the full internal affairs archive going back 6 years. The redirect log, a physical notebook, handwritten, stored in a locked drawer in Murphy's office, was photographed, bagged, and entered into the federal evidence chain. Sophia Reed's footage, James Caldwell's Ring camera, Brooke Ellis's phone recording. All three had been subpoenaed and authenticated before the raid team left the command post. They became part of the federal evidence package alongside 11 months of DOJ panel documentation and 7 hours of Pierce's own audio and video. 4 sources that night. 3 civilian, 1 federal. All of them pointing in the same direction. By 4 in the morning, Murphy and Harlan were in federal custody. By 6, the city's legal office had been notified of the scope of the charges. By sunrise, 17 badges had been turned in Murphy, Harlan, and 15 officers whose names appeared in the redirect log as active participants. The city settled for $11.3 million. The agreement covered Pierce and 14 other individuals whose stops had been documented in the redirect notebook. A federal monitor was assigned to the department for 3 years. The redirect operation was cited in a Department of Justice report on pattern and practice misconduct, published 4 months later, that named Deerfield by name. The civilian footage went everywhere. Sophia Reed's video reached 2 million views in 36 hours. Brooke Ellis was interviewed on 2 national news programs. James Caldwell's Ring camera clip was played in a congressional hearing on police accountability legislation. None of them had planned to be witnesses that evening. They had simply refused to look away. 3 weeks after the raid, on a Tuesday evening, Ruben Pierce drove the same stretch of Route 41 he had driven the night of the stop. He drove the speed limit. He signaled every turn. A DOJ oversight vehicle followed 2 car lengths behind, not tailing him, but present. Part of the new monitoring agreement that required a federal observer during evening shifts in Deerfield for the next 18 months. He pulled into the CVS lot where the stop had happened. He parked. He sat for a moment with both hands on the wheel. Then he pulled out and drove home. Justice, when it works, does not announce itself. It accumulates. It waits. And when the evidence is complete, it does not need to raise its voice.
If you enjoyed this video, a like and a subscribe would mean the world to me. It honestly helps more than you know. And if you got value from this, pay it forward, share it, save it, send it to someone who needs it. Tell me in the comments what hit differently for you. I love hearing your perspectives, because this community is built on your voices. Stay safe, stay curious, and I'll see you in the next video.